eventually a consumer basically gets to see a score based on his lifestyle, and then what kind of solutions do you provide to the consumer so that he can improvise on the score?
Well, there are many guided journeys, again, all digital. So one of the basic ones that we have built is around the score, we have created an entire nudge framework, right? That addresses the entire population. And that framework looks into your data. So you can get a nudge at say 10:30 and say, Professor Anand, we noticed that every time you go to sleep by 11 on a weekday, you end up getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That significantly improves your Aktivo score. Now, a night owl like me, I get it around midnight and say that Gourab, pack up now. If you don't sleep, your score is going to be impacted, and so on and so forth. Then more and more as we get data about that person, we understand maybe, his risk of being diabetic or pre-diabetic, then those messaging keeps on getting more targeted as it gets along, right? If your sleep patterns are erratic, then we go and say, try out the sleep meditations that we have on our platform. This is the Aktivo Mind module, and this is why it's important, not only for your physical lifestyle, but, for your journey to a mental well-being also starts with good sleep as well. So it becomes, the more data that comes into the system, the more we understand about the consumer, more personalized we can make that experience.
Right, okay, very good. Where do you collect this data from? What are the markets that you are already penetrated in this journey so far?
So we are fairly across 11 markets in Southeast Asia.
11 markets?
Southeast Asia and South Asia.
Right.
So the way we go, our distribution is through enterprises. So we are a B2B2C company, so which means that we do not have a direct-to-consumer channel.
Right.
We work primarily with the enterprise industry, so life and health insurance companies, reinsurance companies, companies in the employee benefit space, telcos, banks, anyone willing to have a conversation with their customers, with their policyholders, with their employees around health and longevity using a digital first approach, we become a partner of their choice. Now, this actually helps us, the customer acquisition, or the CAC as we say, or your investors say, the CAC becomes significantly low because then one integration and a go live, suddenly gives us access to a massive customer base or a captive customer base itself. So like that, we have partners who has that kind of access. So one single partnership gives us regional access across this market. So like I mentioned, 300,000 paid subscribers across these markets, and by Q2 we are going live with a tier 1 insurance company in Mexico, and then followed up by other Latin American markets as well. So it's a global problem, and we have built a platform which is globally relevant. So yeah, I think that's where we are.
You mentioned about the use of mobile phone as the end, I would say, most important instrument in the journey for digital health solution for a consumer. How do you think mobile healthcare has actually revolutionized in some of the Southeast Asian markets? Give us some examples.
No, glad you mentioned because there's a very limited understanding of mobile health and how it's separated from digital health itself. So there are two kinds of digital health data.
Right.
There's something called static health data that resides in your traditional hospital information systems or your electronic health records of the world or your laboratory information systems. Great data, but presents a past snapshot. And then there's something called the real-time data. Right? Data generated on the fly from IoT-enabled devices. Right? That is the holy grail in this space. Right? And for you to capture the data, the smartphone or the mobile phone is imperative in order for you to do that. So whether you're going into therapeutical areas, digital therapeutical areas, there are many pharmaceutical companies getting into the space and they're actually doing DTX, right? Alongside the doctors saying that, okay, use this application as well. That's been revolutionary in the way we see. Mobile health still would, all the fitness trackers that you do, it's still connectivity through the smartphone itself. The Bluetooth connects with your smartphone and then the data is analyzed and then insights are given, right? So the Fitbits, the Garments of the world, the Apple Health, the Google Fits of the world, they moved that needle on the self-quantification movement in healthcare. So mobile health sits at the core of it. So you have to look at the smartphone, because the smartphone, as the penetration goes up, your market size also goes up. So if you're not in mobile health, you should be in the digital health space.
Gourab, interesting insights about the penetration of mobile healthcare and the application of mobile healthcare. Can you cite some recent examples about how the M healthcare or the mobile healthcare partnership has worked very well for you, and the impact it has created by Activolabs?
Oh, you had quite a few examples. Maybe you can start off with one of our recent go lives in the Philippines. A project that the entire team at Aktivo was super excited about. It's actually a partnership with the Metro Pacific Investments Corporation.
Right.
They launched the first health super app of the region called MWell. And they're really leveraging the access they have to a captive 100 million customer base through their various businesses to reach out to them and transform healthcare delivery for Filipinos forever, right? The role that we are playing in over there is that there's something called an M-Wellness score now, right? So we integrate it into that M-Well ecosystem. Now every Filipino, they can just download this application, right? They can get an M-Wellness score every day, and they can understand the various lifestyle choices that they're making and how it's impacting their day-to-day lifestyle risk, or how they can help lead happier or healthier lives.
So it's about lifestyle management and also risk management from the health perspective for a consumer in Philippines, and we're talking about 100 million consumers plus.
So yeah, that's the captive base. The target for 2022 would be to reach between 5 to 10 million Filipinos to start using the M-Wellness score. And yeah, I think we're off to a very good start already. And just to give you one more example, just outside Philippines, in India, we have gone live with Aditya Birla Health Insurance in August.
Right.
So if you are now an Aditya Birla policyholder, you can download the active application, and then you can get a daily lifestyle score.
Right.
And I think they're Aditya Birla as health insurance. I think they're fairly far ahead of the curve from their peers when it comes to implementing digital health solutions and managing risk in a proactive manner compared to the peers. And it's based on this well-being score that they have created, and the lifestyle score plays a certain part in that well-being score. They have created a product that can give you up to 30% discount on your annual health premiums. It's called Health Returns, and the product's filed with the regulator. I think it's the first of its kind in India as well. So this is where people are incentivized to lead a healthier lifestyle, and 30% is a significant amount. Yeah.
So so these are important health-being scores, health scores, lifestyle scores, which are validated by the local corporates and also at the same time by the regulators.
Yes, and also when you look into some of these corporates, you're talking about the insurance companies.
Right.
I mean, when you have to go and tell them something that it's a paradigm shift for the way that they're doing business, and you come across some really tough audience. The chief medical officers and the chief actuaries, that gets some very, very interesting conversations, and that's where we really get the validation. When they say that, okay, this really the approach we like, we understand. We commend the way you have gone about building this whole piece, and it will definitely add value to our customers itself.
So am I right to say that you are truly giving the opportunity to empower a common man with health solutions, digital health solutions, mobile health solutions by clicking just a few buttons on a mobile phone?
That's about it, yeah. I think
it's as simple as that?
It's as simple as that. Empowerment comes from education. And education, the best way to, it's just about how you get that message across.
So making healthcare accessible. What about affordability? How cheap or how expensive is the solution?
It's just an app. It's just all you need is a smartphone to try and understand what your lifestyle choices are. So we built the platform keeping the next 3 billion or the next billion consumers in mind. And then you had to keep it, the moment you need something like an Apple Watch to maintain the health of your population, it doesn't work. Right?
So tell us about your business model.
So, like I said, it's a B2B2C. It's very straightforward. We charge per user per year kind of a situation. The price per user depends on the volumes that are committed by our enterprise partners and the modules that they take. That is what it is right now. The idea for us is to really get into the space and get that user population and get that data such that from that data sets across globally, we will be able to come up with insights that would help enterprises across the world, governments across the world, pharmaceutical companies across the world to make more informed decisions.
So today we are talking about a B2B2C model. What about a direct B2C model? Do you see yourself transitioning into that particular phase in the near future?
There's nothing stopping us to do so, but right now the focus was really how do we maximize our efforts given the resources that
build
we have.
a brand, get validation from these large corporate partners before you go into the B2C. Is that what you're thinking?
That and we still have to, given a business, the focus always will be on unit economics. Right. I still have to figure out the cost of customer acquisition in the right. B2C side of things. And yes, definitely building a brand before and having some awareness before you go into that direct to the consumer channel piece itself. So because once you open it up to the consumer, we do not know which way, or we can't control that narrative that way. So right now we have a very clear idea of how we are delivering value to our enterprise partners in the entire ecosystem and the stakeholder ecosystem. So that's very clear who wins, and there's a win-win-win situation for the consumer, for our partner, whether it's an insurance company or a telco or an employee benefits organization, and then for us as well. So once we build up the brand to get the validation, have the right amount of capital or access to capital, which is cheaper, then maybe, down the road.
Being out of Singapore, headquartered in Singapore, do you think that there are some advantages for you to be out here? And is access to capital relatively easy from Singapore? What role Singapore has played in your journey so far?
Well, in one sentence, this is the best that it gets in Asia, in this part of the world, right? So if you want to live in Asia, I've fairly traveled across Asia, lived in multiple cities. There's no place else I would rather be as it comes to being a technopreneur.
What part of tech innovation actually you think is the best explained in Singapore?
I think it would be access to the ecosystem and the government's role, the role that the government plays to really accelerate the development of that ecosystem
as a catalytic.
Definitely. I mean,
have you received any grants so far?
Oh yes, so we've received a fair amount of grants to it's called capability development grants. So the mental well-being product that we're talking about was 75% funded by the government to build it out, right? And those kind of things are a great jab in the arm, the kind of shots that you need.
So the government agencies basically are the ones who are sponsoring or offering grants to carry out certain data-related work in mental health for you.
Yes, so I can tell you we recently got a grant from A-Star as well,
right.
Close to around $500,000 Sing to build out another product that we're working on, the precision nutrition space. And then for the mental well-being, every time we go and say that we have an innovative idea, they never turn us down. We show them exactly that this is completely thought through, that the project is completely on paper and on our minds. It just needs to be executed, and we need the capital and we need your help. They've always been extremely helpful. Right,
good. I want to shift the focus to a little bit on the regulation parts. In fact, actually, as you move into Southeast Asia, South Asia, not every country will have the same regulation, especially for digital health and mobile health. Do you want to share some insights about how you see the regulatory landscape evolve for mobile health and for digital health?
I think there are few things on regulation, right? So could be on the data privacy side of things, right. Because you're talking about consumer health data. And the second part would be that what does your product do or claim to do, right? The moment, you move in from being a journaling application to saying that, this is in digital therapeutics and, you're touching people with diseases in it, suddenly that goes into a classification of a medical device. So those are two different regulation aspect. And the third part for us is that when we are talking to the financial services industry, there's certain levels of IT security compliance and all that stuff that, we have to really be careful with. And if you're using lifestyle data inside an insurance product and using that data to give discounts, right? The insurance regulator keeps a very close eye in it. In short, those are the three places it's evolving. The data privacy piece, I think, with the PDPA in Singapore, it's fairly advanced. We are GDPR compliant, so I think the requirements for that, we are able to handle that quite fairly. If you're a digital health company, start thinking in these lines at the start. Do not build something and then think about regulations, especially around data privacy. So that's something that, luckily we had the foresight of doing that. Back in 2019, we became GDPR compliant. We got ourselves a DPO, which was not in-house. He was the cop who kept us all on our toes every time we built any feature or was consuming a new data type. We had to go to him and say that, what are things we need to do. Had some very expensive lawyers look at every single, wording and every single page of the application or whichever manifestation it was happening. The second part of it is really about, be very clear what your platform does. Right? If you're in the preventative health space, or if you're going into DTX, or whether you're actually touching a patient with disease and saying that how is it being used, will it be used for any kind of prognosis or diagnosis, those kind of things you have to understand what the local statutory requirements are. Right? It's a good and a bad thing, because sometimes it is a barrier to entry. Once you cross it, right, that becomes very important. That becomes a moat as well sometimes for you as an organization. And the third part is the regulatory piece, especially when you're looking into the monetary authorities of the world, how favorably they look at something like wellness data and data used to price insurance products. Right? I would say if you just look into the Indian regulator, they're one of the toughest regulators in the world. They have the reputation for doing that, and they are promoting that we want to improve the relationship between an insurance company and its policyholders. So it obviously makes sense if the insurance company is actually trying to improve the life and the health of the policyholders itself, and they're promoting the use of wellness related data points to actually come up with innovative product solutions.
Good, very nice. Good. This has been very exciting, Gourab. Good insights about what Aktivo has been doing in the last 5 years, and I see a very bright future. So what next? What's the next plan for Activolabs? Where do we go from here?
Well, we're just quite deep into getting our Series A closed out over the next few weeks, and from there on, it's really about taking into the next phase of growth. So we already have quite a few great stories to talk about, some great customer success stories to talk about. So yeah, we just need to build up the team to really go around the world and tell the story, because every conversation we're not having right now with a potential partner is an opportunity missed. So it's going to be a lot of exciting times, a lot of work. Yeah, excited, looking forward to do that. And also, like I said, we have a fantastic product roadmap lined up, so we're looking forward to that.
Are you ahead of the game in Asia for digital health? And what are the key trends that are driving digital health in this market?
I would like to believe so. So sometimes, being ahead of the game also impacts in the sense that, you have to convince a lot of people that the hypothesis is, it's correct.
But it's been validated.
So yeah, sometimes when you're ahead of the game, you're the first person out of the door.
Right.
And then, some, especially I would say in the investor community, they might wait and watch. Okay, this is interesting, exciting. You want to see if that hypothesis holds true. The trends that I'm seeing is really about adoption of digital health from industries who are a stakeholder in the population, right? So you're talking about the banks coming and talking about health and wealth together, right? So, you're going to live longer, you want to maintain your wealth.
Which was not the case earlier, right?
Yeah. So that was not the case earlier. The telcos are talking about, okay, I have 100 million users. My revenues from traditional sources is drying out, right? I need to provide digital health services. And then health is always a great way to have an engagement, right? So all of them are turning into lifestyle brands, and you cannot not talk about health if you're trying to become a lifestyle brand and add value.
Good. Thank you very much, Gourab.
Pleasure,
it was exciting and interesting to learn about Aktivo, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.